starts getting me down. I don't know what it is with James Taylor at the moment. I was getting all ready this week to do a Bob Dylan song, and on the back of last week's Carolina in My Mind that I put up on Friday, one of my lovely loyal subscribers, Malcolm, put up a message saying, great, any chance of doing Up on the Roof? And you know, James Taylor's version of Up on the Roof, it's very nice. He's a great performer. But then I started really thinking about the song, and it is just a brilliant song. Of course, Carole King and her husband Jerry Goff in the 60s were a powerhouse of songwriting, and the breadth and variety of the songs they've written and the number of people who've covered them in all sorts of different ways is fairly astounding. I've done her own version of Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow, which is very much like the Amy Winehouse version. I've also done James Taylor's version of You've Got a Friend, which is a great song of hers. But if you wanted to get an idea of how good her songwriting is from the point of view of it being a vehicle for a performance, I'd urge you strongly to listen to Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow as performed by Bette Midler. Now, Bette Midler's not known as a wallflower. She's not shy, not known for her understated performance, but this is essentially just piano and voice. And there's something so simple, modest about a song like that allows someone like Bette Midler to get it all out there in that way. It really is extraordinary. So I just wanted to say, Carole King, I tip my hat, fantastic, which brings us back to Up on the Roof. So let's have a look at that. Okay, I should mention we've got the capo on the 3rd fret. His version is in F, but he's playing as if he's in the key of D. There's really not very much to the structure. We've got a small, simple verse and an even smaller, simpler chorus. But what happens in the verse is we've got a 4-bar block that repeats, but each of those 4 bars is followed by a 2-bar guitar instrumental, and we'll have a look at those in detail in a moment. The entire arrangement here is going to be very much like what he plays. It's going to match exactly the recording. Some of it I've tabbed out note for note as he does it with the intro and these fills and so on, but then I've tried to catch some of the elements that also occur in the bass and the piano and the strings. So let's just map out these 4 bars to begin with. We have a bar of D and half a bar each of B minor and F sharp minor. If this old world starts getting me down. Now it's a bar each of E minor 7 and A7. People are just too much for me to face. And then we go into our thing. We'll come back to that in a moment. Then that repeats. I climb way up to the top of the stairs, and all my cares just drift right into, and again. If you take a look at the E minor 7, we've got a note on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. I'm playing that with my little finger. That note stays there for the A7, and later, particularly in the chorus and in the break or the outro, we've got a lot of these notes here, this 3rd fret on the 2nd string and a D that just stays there, and we really want to capture some of that. Now let's look at a general picking pattern we can play here. We've got 4 beats to the bar, and the chords last either 4 beats or 2 beats generally. And for a 4-beat pattern, we can try this. Thumb, 1, 2, 3. For a D, I'm going to have my thumb on the 4th string, because that's where the root of the chord is, and my 3 picking fingers, 1st finger on the 3rd string, 2nd finger on the 2nd, and my 3rd finger's right up here on the top string. And I'll just play them in order. That's the first half. For the second half of the pattern, so if a chord lasts for 4 beats, I'll do this. Thumb, 1, 2, 3, thumb, 1, 2, 1. I'll come back. And the reason I don't want to play that top string again is because it comes just before the middle of the bar, and if I play that note brightly and it rings out, it creates a little unexpected accent, and that creates some subtle syncopation, which is really what we want. That kind of a thing. Where my chord has its root on the 5th string or the 6th string, I might move those fingers down. With the capo on the 3rd fret, the guitar's already sounding a bit brighter, so by bringing those picking fingers down to the 2nd, 3rd and 4th strings, for instance, it just gives me a chance to create something a little mellower, a bit more in the middle of the range, and maybe that supports my voice a little bit better. But if we try that picking just over the first 4 bars of the verse, we'll have this. If this old world starts getting me down, and people are just too much for me to take. That kind of a thing. Now those two little guitar figures that we've got after each 4-bar block in the verse, the first one is this. It's just 2 bars, and we start with the chord of D. I move the finger, it's my 3rd finger, from the 3rd fret of the 2nd string down to the 2nd fret. Now I've got essentially a G triad, 3rd and 4th frets, and then an A triad, 5th and 6th frets. I'm going to lead with my 3rd finger on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string, move it up 2 to the 4th fret, and then the whole shape falls in behind, and then just do the same thing with the A. I mean, it's a lot like... which is Fire and Rain, but this one works the other way. And as I play the top note of the triad, I'm going to pick a bass note. For the G, that's the open 4th, and for the A, it's the open 5th. So all together... Now the second one is maybe a little simpler, it's this. Same as we've just had, we go straight to our G arpeggio, our chord, and then to a little A, 2, 2 and 0, and back to D with 2 picks. Now the chorus is 8 bars. You can think of it as 2 lots of 4 bars. The first 4 bars is new material, and the second 4 bars is just borrowed from the verse. And for the first 4 bars, I'm actually going to change the picking pattern. We'll come to that in a moment. But we kick off with G, and I've got my little finger on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. I'm not going to pick the top string. G for 2, A for 2, and then G again, but this time with B in the bass, so it looks just like E-7, but we're not playing the bottom string, and back to A. On the roof, it's peaceful as can, and then we've got 2 beats of E-7, D over F sharp, G, and A7 sus4, and my little finger is stuck on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string for all of those. So that whole 4-bar section. On the roof, it's peaceful as can be. Now the picking pattern I'm going to play here, I've got my thumb on the bass note, so for G that's the 6th string. I've got my picking fingers for all of these on the 2nd, 3rd and 4th strings. I'm going to play thumb, 1st finger, picking the 4th string, 2nd and 3rd fingers together, picking the 2nd and 3rd strings, and then back to my 1st finger, picking the 4th string. Thumb, 1, 2 and 3, 1. On the roof, it's peaceful as can be. Mainly because that D is kind of locked into the 2nd string there. I just want to get something a little more rhythmically insistent. And then revert to the original picking perhaps for the 2nd half of the chorus. There the world below, don't bother me. So when, and into the next chorus. And just while I think of it, there are a couple of places where we can flesh out the bass. Leland Sklar on bass doesn't do this on the original, but D to B minor, that happens in both the verse and the chorus. If I hit a note on the 4th fret of the 5th string on the 4th beat of that bar, that's going to take me really nicely down to B minor. This old world starts getting me down. And then we've got a bar of E-7 and a bar of A7 sus4. So what we could do there, now I'm picking the E-7 with the open bottom string for 2 beats. On beat 3 I'm going to play an F sharp, 2nd fret of the bottom string, and on beat 4, 3rd fret of the bottom string, that's G, to walk me up to the A that follows. Okay, Right, so if I just put those two into the first bit of the verse. If this old world starts getting me down, people are just too much for me to face. Okay, that kind of idea works really nicely, and because it's a single acoustic guitar, we just want to give it a bit more detail maybe. Now that 4-chord sequence that happens in bars 3 and 4 of the chorus, that's exactly what happens in the intro, but he picks it differently. And it's almost as though the chords are slightly overlapping each other. We start with this. I've got a finger on the 2nd fret of the 4th string. I'm playing the open 6th, the 4th and the open 2nd. Then my 3rd finger is going to come down to the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. And then around that we form the D over F sharp, and here's my little finger on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. And that rings on until I get my 3rd fret on the bottom string note, that's with my 3rd finger. And I'm going to keep that little finger there, even though it's not played over the G chord, because I want it in place for the last little bit of the A7 sus4. I might be playing all this a little bit fast. I've just had another listen, and it's really quite relaxed. The tempo of this is maybe something like that. All right, nearly there. Now, after intro, verse 1, chorus, verse 2, chorus, we get to a little 6-bar break. It's nothing very much, but we've got 2 bars only of new material. There's a bar of D and a bar of B minor. Then we get our 2 bars with the little finger stuck on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. That's E minor 7, D over F sharp, G, and A7 sus4. And then we get the final 2 bars of the verse, this thing. Okay, now the 2 new bars, a bar of D and a bar of B minor, in the original there's like strings and piano doing this. Ga, 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 before we get our little sequence, and I'm sort of tabbing that on the guitar like this. Okay, I might be playing something slightly different than is written on the screen, but basically I'm playing a bit of the D chord, then I'm opening up that top string and then fretting again on the 2nd. Now it happens again half a beat before the B minor, and really all I'm doing here is putting a finger on the 2nd fret of the 5th string for the B minor. Then we've got our rising sequence before. And in the outro we get exactly the same thing, but it's just those first 4 bars. Happens maybe 7 or 8 times. That kind of thing, and it builds and builds. There's only so much building I can do on the guitar, but that's the idea. And eventually it slows down and ends on a big D chord. All right, let's have a playthrough. 1, 2, 3, 4. This old world starts getting me down, and people are just too much for me to face. I'm climbing way up to the top of the stairs, and all my cares just drift right into space. bustle and crowd and all that rat race noise down in the street. On the roof, it's the only place I know. You just have to wish to make it so. Let's go up on the roof. At night the stars, they put on a show for free. Darling, you can share it all with me. Oh, and right smack dab